Mark Braze is running for the seat of Barker in the federal election on the 21st of May. How's it going, Mark?
Pretty good, Ricky. Yeah, pretty good. Made a call to run late, but I feel I was match fit after Mackillop, so no, I'm enjoying it.
Yep.
Got around Mount Gambier and Millicent where I live, and I spent yesterday in Murray Bridge, so and off to the Barossa today, and then the Riverland Wednesday and a bit of Thursday. Interesting time.
Yeah, it's a big electorate to cover, much bigger than Mackillop in the state election, and it's got a Melbourne Cup field of candidates running, I think 9 this time.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. I've said to people, well, for me, that's good for democracy. My attitude's always been, I think I said this to you last time I ran for Mackillop, it's not always about, it's not the Melbourne Cup quite and where you're going to put your money, but I think it's good that there are many candidates. I haven't got my mind around precisely what the policies are of all the candidates yet, but that's good. It's important that people have choice.
Yeah, and Tony Pasin, we caught up with him late last week. He said the same thing, that he welcomes that number of voters. And I guess the value of that preferential voting system in the House of Representatives is that the voter has to number every box. So even if they do, whoever they ultimately pick, it's going to find that vote stays alive and chooses between the final two candidates.
Yeah, I reckon that's a really important point. I've known Tony a long time. I was a lawyer practicing when Tony started practicing law in Mount Gambier. Our paths have crossed, and we were in local government at the same time. So, yeah, Tony's worked assiduously from my experience in representing his communities. But hell, it's a challenge, mate. It's a huge, huge electorate. Front of mind issue for me and for people I've been talking to is obviously life's getting really tough. And I think for me, people are coming out of a state of anxiety and concern, COVID, which is still with us, but managed. A lot of people are okay and safe. But I think we're looking for certainty in life, and I believe the Labor policies under an Albanese Labor government offer that certainly for people who are struggling and battling.
Well, certainly cost of living has been something the Labor Party in the last couple of weeks of the campaign have profiled and said it's really important, and even housing affordability as well. There's been housing shortages. What are your main, I guess the party had its campaign launch on the weekend. What's your main take for the voters of Barker about what Labor's promising to do to help with cost of living? Yeah,
cost of living front of mind. We're hearing about it, and clearly Commonwealth Government needs to respond to it as best they can. And so for me, I'm principally concerned to ensure that people who are doing it tough, low income, or on Centrelink benefits, or pensioners, don't get pumped by this. And then for younger people looking to enter the housing market, the launch last night, Albanese Labor government made it clear that they would essentially get into the market and help people by providing up to 40% towards the cost of a new build and 30% for a second-hand build. And that's really about assisting people. It's not exclusively for first-timers, but assisting people who are low incomes and maybe struggling to get the mortgage together to be able to enter that market.
But
that's a good initiative.
Looking at the fine print of the press release about that from Labor this morning, it indicated that, it says includes, but it says the policy includes certain regional areas, but it doesn't mention Barker. It talks about, Newcastle and the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast as being regional. Are you confident that 10,000 will clue sub-voters in Barker?
Well, I hope so, Ricky. Yeah, I haven't followed up on that specifically, but I would have thought it's available Australia. But I'll certainly make some inquiries because Barker's got as much disadvantage as anywhere else in the nation. I mean, those pressures hit everywhere. So I hope it is. I'll be making a noise if it's not, mate.
Well, now, just lastly, because the Gremlins have been making an appearance during our interview here on mobile phone coverage, what's your policy proposition about how we could improve mobile phone coverage in Barker?
Yeah, I'm not sure what our policy is there, to be brutally honest with you. But it's a real issue. It's patchy across the regions. So certainly it's an important issue that needs to be addressed, but I haven't got front of mind what what that is.
All right, well, it's something else I should ask you about is Tony Pasin talked about in the electorate of Barker. He's talking now about blue sky projects. He says he wants to spend the political capital he's accumulated over his first 3 terms and get the Dukes Highway duplicated to the border and the Sturt Highway duplicated to the border and a bridge over the Murray at Springcart Gully through Lirrup and across bypassing Renmark. Why hasn't that sort of policy sort of come out of Tony Pasin before then? What's this political capital he thinks he can expend now?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'm not sure whether that capital is there to expend. Good luck to him. They're all worthy projects. But for me, front of mind, for Barker, particularly in the Riverland, and for the state really, is the Liberals haven't delivered on the 450 gigs that are owed to our state, and that's the Murray-Darling Basin. And I think the problem for Barker and the state generally is, putting aside you do have a Nationals candidate at the top of the ticket this time, the Liberals haven't been able to deliver on the Murray-Darling Basin plan, and I think that we all understand what that's about. The Nationals in New South Wales ensuring that we don't get that water. I think that's a really big issue for me.
That 450 gigs, Tony Pasin reckons he's calculated 32 gigalitres of that would have to exit South Australia. That's their contribution. He doesn't want to see that happen. He claims that'd be about the size of the Renmark Irrigation Trust coming offline if it was all in one place. Where do you think we find South Australia's contribution?
Well, from upstream, mate. You know, really, I think that's a distraction. And the good people of the Riverland with the pipes and the covered channels, the last people who should be shafted over water, South Australia, for God's sake. We've led the way in sustainable water use. So if it has to come from somewhere else, it has to come from somewhere else. And it just concerns me that the National Party seems to have come to the view that this is not an issue. Well, it's just not good enough. So I think people should think very seriously how they vote. And I think that is a big issue, and only an elected Labor government can deliver that water.
Well, Mark Brace, thanks for your time today, and we'll have to keep working on that mobile phone coverage over future discussions. Cheers again.
Thanks, Ricky. Bye.